we're gonna get this started. Hi everyone, I'm David, co-founder and CEO of Clarity. Welcome to the Clarity Showcase. We are so excited you could join us today for 3 significant announcements about our Sensing as a Service offering. We will be talking more about these improvements soon. But first, I would like to provide a quick update on our progress towards achieving our mission. So let's take a moment to look back. Clarity was founded almost 10 years ago with one purpose, which is to empowering the world to reduce air pollution. So how do we approach this massive challenge? For us, it's all about making sure our clients have the air quality data they need to take action. Data that is both accessible and accurate. This is the heart of our Sensing as a Service, combining the hardware, our nodes as device and modules, the software, our Clarity Cloud, and our expert support. We are aiming to, with this, we're aiming to make air monitoring accessible and accurate for everyone. I am incredibly proud to share that Clarity's Sensing as a Service has since been widely adopted across the globe in more than 80 countries. This includes some of the largest air monitoring networks in the world, such as the Breeze London, in the heart of the UK, in Perth, one of the most remote cities in the world, with the RAC Air Health Monitor, and the Know Your Air network from the Los Angeles Unified School District, one of the largest school districts in the US. Seeing all this incredible work our partners are doing is truly inspiring. It shows us how technologies like Clarity's Sensing Service are really changing the game in how air quality management is being done. Thanks to the accessibility of the air quality sensors, we're seeing community more engaged in their local pollution issues than ever. They are taking charge of air monitoring themselves. Governments now has the tools to measure the pollutants where it matters the most. Insights and analysis are being drawn from this whole new set of localized and real-time data. This is leading to real tangible actions we're hoping for in the fight against air pollution. Breeze London is an example of how this technology is being used to accelerate the changes. We have prepared a short video to show you how.
The World Health Organization estimates that around 7 million people die globally a year from air pollution. Every breath that you take has something in it. And the question is, what damage is that going to be doing to your health?
Breathe London is a network of over 400 sensors providing real-time air pollution information for communities right across London. We've got them at GP surgeries, at hospitals, at schools, playgrounds, parks, next to roads. We've even got some in allotments.
One of the common misconceptions about air pollution is that it all comes from one source, or it all has the same health impact. That's not so. Air pollution comes from many sources, and those sources change over time.
So we're standing next to the road here. There'll be particles coming off of brake wear, from tyre wear, resuspended from the road surface. But there are also particles in the air that have travelled vast distances, even across countries, and persist in the air for quite a long time.
Air pollution is a really serious problem in London. It's estimated there are almost 9,500 deaths from air pollution every year in London alone. The effects of air pollution are devastating. People often understand that air pollution affects the lungs, but what they perhaps don't realise is that air pollution affects every organ of the body.
We now know that it impacts the cardiovascular system, it's impacting on brain growth.
Really, any organ you can think of, air pollution has an impact, and that's because it causes inflammation.
What measuring pollution helps us to do is to try and figure out where it's coming from and how much.
You can really understand the influence of air pollution on health.
And using that knowledge, that helps us target the policies to where we need to focus our efforts.
Our approach was to give the small sensors out to the local communities and authorities to enable them to answer their local questions. The small sensor network is actually tied dynamically to the reference network in order to achieve the quality that's required. The next stage is for us to take this process outside of London and go national and international with it.
The Clarity Node S has been perfect for this project. It has a small solar panel, it's easy to put up, it connects to the network anywhere, and all of those factors combined means that communities can put them up by themselves. People are involved in the network.
In 2018, we learned that the children at this school and others were breathing in illegal levels of air pollution. So a group of parents came together to take urgent action. We've used Breathe London data to do some really important things. Big leaflet campaigns, petitions, social media campaigns, and thousands of local community members wrote to their local councillors, MPs, the Mayor of London to ask for clean air for their schools and communities. Affordable, accessible tech like the Clarity Node is a total game changer. I mean, as soon as people understand the air they're breathing, they can start to protect themselves and they can start to make real positive change.
Air pollution is a public health crisis as well as an environmental concern.
But we have the power to change this. We have the technology, we have the data. This is now about action.
All of us have to breathe all the time, and we all have a stake in the quality of the air we breathe.
My daughter Morgan is 9 and she's one of the big reasons, along with my son Oscar, why we've been campaigning.
I've done a lot of campaigning myself, helped my mum post leaflets through doors on nearby streets. My brother has written a letter to the council, and I have also drawn stuff with the walk to school route maps. It's made me feel really good. It's given me a voice and it's given me the confidence to know that I can speak up and make a change.
It's truly inspiring to see the real-world impact of our technology. In London, various stakeholders have since taken steps to further reduce air pollution. The London Mayor Office expanding the ultra-low emission zone, a policy that has already reduced around 50% of nitrogen dioxide in central London, and it is projected to prevent more than 1 million hospital admissions in the next 30 years. At the community level, people are championing and enforcing anti-idling campaign at schools to protect the most vulnerable population, the children. We truly believe in this vision that when accessible and accurate air quality data meets the right stakeholders' engagement, remarkable changes can happen. If you're interested in learning more, you can download the white paper at our website right now. Now, I would like to turn to my colleague, Paulo. He will tell you how we are turning this vision into reality through our latest product innovations. Paulo, the floor is yours.
Thank you, David. So today I will talk about the work that we've been doing on our product to make the vision that David just outlined a reality. To do that, I would like to introduce 3 teams. These teams are coming from our work with our customers on several real-world projects, as David introduced. And they represent what we believe are some of the main, there is my video. Some of the main needs for our customers. These teams are answer complex air pollution questions, the need to trust monitoring data, and the need to accelerate time to impact. And now I will go through these teams, and as I go through them, I have a few exciting product announcements to make. So for the first team is answer complex air pollution question. So we know that air pollution is a complex issue. At Clarity, we are trying to make air pollution monitoring simple, but still we learn through our work that if we really want to drive actions that make a change and reduce air pollution, we need to scratch below the surface. So we really need to understand what's going on. And this is really reflected in our sensing as a service that treats air monitoring not as just device or instrument deployment, but as a whole project that has multiple stakeholders, like David was talking about. And it's also reflected in what is the building block of our solution, which is the Clarity Node S. The Clarity Node S is a sensor node. It's solar powered. It is wireless. It connects to the internet via cellular network and measures PM2.5 and NO2. And it acts as a platform that can be enhanced by using add-on modules to measure more environmental parameters and thus address these more complex air pollution questions. And today, I'm very proud to announce our new black carbon module. The black carbon module is a metallometer developed in partnership with AethLabs. It will enable you to measure black carbon concentration from all sources, but also selectively from biomass burning and fossil fuel combustion. This is made possible by the 5 wavelength detection, and it's also very accurate thanks to dual spot technology. Especially important, it has a low barrier to entry, meaning it's accessible thanks to the all-inclusive sensing as a service yearly fee, so our business model. And it can be deployed truly anywhere. It only takes a few minutes to set up on the field. And with the optional external solar system, it can operate fully off-grid. So it only requires 40 minutes of direct sunlight per day to operate, and it has 14 days autonomy with no sunlight at all. This is perfect for those high latitude deployments and long winters. And the data flows from the module through the Clarity Node S, through the wireless cellular connectivity to our cloud and into your dashboard. So it's very easy to implement and to get data from the field. It requires low maintenance frequency thanks to the long life of the filter tapes. So this sounds nice. It's a long list of features, but we haven't seen how does this help us to answer complex air pollution questions. So to answer this, I want to go through a measurement campaign that we did ourselves outside of our office in Berkeley. So with a black carbon module, you can, of course, measure black carbon concentration over time. And then you can draw this type of chart that shows you exactly how black carbon concentration changes. And this on its own is valuable because black carbon is one of the components of particulate matter and is the one with the highest health impact or adverse health effects. So knowing its concentration over time is interesting for public health studies or exposure studies. But as we look at this type of chart, we quickly have more questions come up, such as, what is that spike that we see on September 20th on the left, short duration, high concentration? And then what are those recurring patterns that happen in the morning? So the next step, we can add another line, which here represents the PM2.5 mass concentration over time from our Clarity Node S. And the first thing we observe here is how PM2.5 concentration and black carbon concentration go up and down together. So they are highly correlated in these days. And this allows us to draw the first conclusion, which is that PM2.5 pollution in Berkeley over this period is mostly driven by combustion emissions. We can go further. Next, we can plot black carbon concentration specifically from fossil fuel combustion and from biomass burning. And now we can compare these two charts, look at the ratio between the two, observe which one is higher and which is lower at any given time. And this gives some answers. So, for example, on the right, we can see, next slide, please. On the right, we can see that those periodic patterns happening in the morning come mostly from fossil fuel combustion. So this is likely commuter traffic. But on the left, that short duration, high concentration spike is actually coming from biomass burning. That's interesting. That could be a wildfire. And in fact, as this newspaper snippet shows, there was actually a wildfire in Oregon, and the wind blew over the Bay Area and brought the smoke that impacted air quality. So this is pretty cool. And the beauty is that we can do this type of analysis directly on our dashboard. So it's really accessible. This was one data point. So imagine what you can do with more. And of course, it is accurate data. This is a comparison between our black carbon module and the de facto standard of black carbon measurement, which is the MEGI A33 instrument. And you can see how both devices measure very similarly, how the two lines really overlap very well. And to be clear, I'm talking about a very bulky, very expensive instrument that is, next slide, please, that is deployed in a few government monitoring stations. So our black carbon module is perfect really to fill in these data gaps in an accessible way. Pre-orders are live for shipment in early 2024. I strongly suggest to, if you're interested, to scan the QR code and get in touch with our team. There is limited availability currently as we are ramping up production. So please do not hesitate to reach out. Now for the second product theme, trust in monitoring data. So at Clarity, we believe that any decision that needs to lead to action must be based on a solid foundation of accuracy and accurate data. And because of the, once you start, if you want to achieve accurate data, one of the first and key steps with sensors is calibration. So what is calibration? It means tuning your sensors to your region's pollution and environment conditions so that you can get accurate data. So because Clarity values accuracy so much, until today, we always, when working with our customer organization, we always perform what we call collocation-based calibration. What that means is that we together with our customers, we install all of their Clarity Node S next to a government monitoring station for at least 1 month. And after this month passes, we use the data collected to tune the sensors through calibration. And only then the sensors are deployed on the field. So this is a scientifically sound method, and often it's the recommended thing to do, but it does have its drawbacks. For example, many organizations don't have access to a government reference station to do collocation. Also, some organizations don't have the resources in terms of operational workforce and also financial resources for this kind of intense process of collocation-based calibration. And lastly, this can lengthen the timeline, the time it takes to deploy the devices to the field. So to address these issues, our lab team crunched through all the collocation data we acquired over the years by doing so many collocation-based calibration. And this is really a big data set. It's more than 450 different Clarity Node S's for a total of more than 2,000 colocation months over 45 cities with very different pollution and environmental conditions. And by doing that, we were able to deploy what we call global calibrations. So thanks to global calibrations, we are now able to ship pre-calibrated nodes. And this is big. Next slide, please. So while before, a customer organization had to, after onboarding, had to co-locate all the devices. Then we performed for them colocation-based calibration. We got approval from the customer, and only then we could deploy the devices on the field. Now, for organizations that do not have access to government monitoring stations, we can directly deploy the devices on the field thanks to global calibration. And this is really resonating with Clarity's mission of making air pollution monitoring accessible. So this opens up both to several new types of organizations. I'm talking about community groups, NGOs that maybe have limited resources. I'm talking about organizations in emerging economies that maybe do not have access to government reference equipment, but also new use cases, such as monitoring air quality in communities, maybe at schools, but also in industrial complexes where maybe there is no access to government monitoring station, and some emergency response scenarios like wildfires, where time is of the essence. And of course, at Clarity, we are committed of demonstrating the accuracy of our methodology. So here I put up a few slides where I show typical performance in several different locations for PM2.5 and for NO2 using our global calibrations. And I invite you to explore our collocation library that we have recently added to our website, where you can really see typical performance in several different regions. And we always recommend to our customers to really dive deep into the topic of accuracy before purchasing or planning a monitoring campaign with indicative monitors. It's really important. Now, for the third theme, which is accelerating the time to impact, I would like to pass the ball to my colleague, May.
Thanks, Paulo. Hi, everyone. I'm Mei-Ling Gao, Chief Operating Officer at Clarity. We understand the importance of making sure that the data coming from your air monitoring projects and programs are accessible and impactful. So I'm very pleased to announce that we're formally offering additional services to help make your projects more successful. So these services include network design workshops, where we'll work closely with your team to identify what and where you should be monitoring and where to place your sensors. And when you're ready to deploy your sensors, we can also provide live, remote, or on-site deployment support to make sure the devices are installed properly and running smoothly. We can also provide more in-depth air quality trainings for your team to talk about the science behind the technology we're using and the measurements and how to look at and interpret the data coming in. With our lab team, we're officially offering more in-depth data analyses and reports as well, so you can draw more insights from your network. And finally, as part of our new additional services, we're also partnering with Ramble to provide Share, which is a high-resolution, real-time air quality model that can use your sensor data to help fill in the gaps and help you understand in greater detail of when and where air pollution is happening in your region, and also help you understand different types and how different types of sources are contributing to air pollution. So if you and your team are interested in learning more about these services, please do reach out to us. We're happy to chat and see how we can help. And back to you, David.
Thanks, May and Paulo, for the presentation. And thanks to the entire Clarity team who made this possible. So today, we shared our vision about how we hope to leverage technology to empower actions. we have teamed up with AethLabs to bring you the black carbon module for pre-order, a proven technology re-engineered into an outdoor continuous monitoring module that can be deployed anywhere to answer complex questions such as source apportionment or traffic emissions, all at a very affordable price tag. We also are now shipping the Node S with global calibration at default. New calibration methods build upon 6 million of co-located measurements. Global calibration is making it more accessible than ever to have accurate air quality data all around the world, even for the clients who cannot access the reference monitor. Our air quality experts team now offering optional add-on services to help our clients with network design, deployment, data analysis, and even air quality modeling to accelerate their impact. So if you're interested to talk with us more and learn about each one of them, please visit our website and then submit an inquiry. One of our team member will reach out and set up a meeting. Meanwhile, if you are already working with us, feel free to refer someone or your friends, and then they can get half off in their first year for up to 2 sites. Thank you so much for being here today. It means a lot to us. We'll now open the rest of the webinar to any question you may have. Well, let's get the conversation rolling.
All right. I think I can, I'm sifting through the questions here. Maybe I can answer some live. I see here what maintenance is required for the black carbon module. How often do filters need to be replaced? Is other maintenance required? So for the black carbon module, the main maintenance action that is required is replacing the filter tapes. And the time that the filter tape lasts is dependent actually on the black carbon concentration in the deployment region. And typically we observe that you only need to replace twice a year. And in terms of other maintenance, in our sensing as a service is included one instrument calibration at the factory every 2 years, where we take care of all the rest of the maintenance. So all things considered, quite low maintenance requirements. I see. I see here on slide 22, the figure where we're looking at black carbon, biomass versus fossil fuel. Is that a clarity algorithm based on PM2.5 and black carbon values to give you the source? So the way we do source apportionment for black carbon is actually by comparing the black carbon concentration measured at different wavelengths and applying an AethLabs model. So it is not using PM2.5 data to calculate the source of black carbon, but it's using this measurement at different wavelengths. That was a good question. And May and David also feel free to go through the list.
Yeah, so there's a question being asked about any ETA on when clarity sites may appear on the EPA's fire and smoke map. So this is something that we have been working with EPAs since beginning of last year's, and we are working through that process. Hopefully, we will going through that process early next year.
I see another good question is what level of accuracy improvement is seen with pre-calibrated nodes versus raw data? And also, I see other question asking to compare the performance of pre-calibrated node versus node that were calibrated doing collocation-based calibration. So there is a big improvement in terms of performance between a pre-calibrated node and raw data. And this is especially true for NO2 measurement. So NO2 measurement, we suggest never to use raw data because of the interferences caused by changing temperatures and humidity on the sensor component, which is electrochemical cell sensor. So the raw data is really hard to interpret without any correction, while our global calibration really does a good job at doing a first step of correction there. And in terms of comparing data that is calibrated with global calibrations versus data that is corrected with collocation-based calibration, it is still preferred to do a collocation-based calibration whenever possible, because it usually results in better accuracy and also gives organization the chance to really quantify the performance for each of their devices. So we think that that global calibration and pre-calibrated nodes are great in case it is really not possible to do the collocation-based calibration, but otherwise it's always good practice to do that. I also see another question is, does the Clarity dashboard display the raw and calibrated data? What QA/QC procedures does Clarity recommend? So at Clarity, we always provide raw data together with calibrated data because several customer organizations would like to maybe try their own calibration. So anyway, have traceability all the way from the sensor raw data to the calibrated output. We think that's a good practice. We're also very committed at being transparent on the way your data is processed. In terms of quality assurance procedures, we do have device status monitoring in our software system, in our dashboard. So you will be able to see when this operational status of sensors degrade on the field and also get notified about it. Interesting. I see a very good question here. Maybe May, do you want to take that one? I see you're typing.
I'm sorry, Paula, which question are you referring to?
I see. I'm gonna read it out loud. As one of the government regulators who operates a reference network, we have been having discussions about how to make our stations more accessible for collocating with everyone's sensors. It would be good to have a discussion about how this has been done around the world. So what are maybe the challenges in doing collocations with government monitoring stations?
I think it's a great comment from Jason. This is definitely one of the challenges we're seeing, and the kind of the roadblocks to kind of getting our networks off the ground more quickly with our partners is the co-location piece. And I think that those challenges vary depending on the agencies we're working with. Sometimes we're only co-locating a few sensors, which really isn't a huge lift to when you're installing a few, but when you're trying to co-locate, for example, 50 to 100, or in some cases 200 sensors, it becomes a bit more burdensome. Where in some cases, the reference monitors might be located in areas where they're a little bit difficult to get to. There's more security risk. Those are all factors that we have to consider when working with our different partners in different countries, trying to get these devices co-located. So having the global calibrations pre-applied to the device are actually really beneficial for many of our partners, where they kind of skip the step and really have these conversations of how important is it to get those custom calibrations, or can they proceed with the global calibrations that we're providing now to get their project up and running? And this is really important. For example, in the US, when we have wildfires, that we need to get devices up, there's no time to do local calibration. And that's kind of allows for that immediate response to get the data needed. So, but Jason, if you're interested in talking more about some of these challenges or learnings from it, we're happy to chat afterwards.
I see a question from Joseph. How applicable is the black carbon module from measurement in harsh conditions like the Arctic? And I also see another question related to temperature and environment. How does this affect performance, measurement accuracy and performance? So I think these are great questions. Of course, harsh conditions make monitoring more challenging. So it's always recommended to really check the instrument datasheet and specification and really make sure that it's usable for your intended use case. In this case, so for the black carbon module, I would say that maybe the bigger challenge, rather than maybe very cold conditions that are sustained over time, is actually big and fast changes in temperature. So we could review together, maybe if you had any temperature profiles to share with us, we could review together and evaluate whether we think this temperature excursion value is within the operating range or maybe not. But this is a very good question. I see another question. Do the modules store data for manual retrieval? And the answer there is not. We do not store data in the module itself. The data is directly streamed to the cloud and is stored over there. This has, we believe, several advantages. For example, for PM2.5 and NO2, we do that because in this way we can perform a real-time calibration of the measurement data, and also it can then be really easy to display in dashboard and download, and also integrate via API. So we think that this is the direction towards which the industry is moving. And if you have doubts of how that would work out for your specific project, I think it's great to reach out. Maybe we can go through your exact requirements and see if we can convince you that this IoT way of doing things can be better than storing data on the module itself. And on the same theme, I see this question about, can Clarity sensors be integrated with existing monitoring networks or smart city platform? The answer there is yes. So we build our system, especially the software part of it, API first. So whatever we are able to do with our dashboard, you can also do via API. And this is perfect for integrating with existing networks and software systems. I see this other question from Mohammed. The microcontroller, how to connect with the cloud and how many readings per minute can we get from the sensors? So the connection between node modules and then the cloud, it's all taken care of by the device. So you don't need to do anything, and the device will use the cellular network and will already connect with our cloud servers without the need for any technical implementation on the customer side.
Yeah, and I believe there's a couple of questions regarding can the data be integrated with some existing platform or some existing networks? And the answer is yes, we do have a very comprehensive API. And then you feel free to kind of check out our API guides and then integrate to your system that way.
I see a question from Caroline. Is the global calibration correction publicly available? Yes, we will making that available online soon as part of our documentation. And then the follow-up to that, actually, Paula, you might be able to answer this better. How is it different from the 2021 wildfire correction?
So that's a good question. So the PM 2.5 global calibration is based on the 2021 wildfire correction, actually. While for NO2, we developed a new methodology that uses more advanced statistical methods. I think the idea there is that as we are growing our collocation dataset, we are able to build stronger global calibrations that can enhance accuracy out of the box. Of course, it's not something that changes over time. We really keep track and we have a tight version control of this global calibration. And we now have new UI on the dashboard that shows you what calibration is applied to your devices. So you're always in control and can always trace back to how we've been correcting your data.
I see a quick questions around what type of parts and structure are needed to mount this device in city infrastructure. Do mounting racks have to be purchased separately? So we do include mounting racks in both the modules as well as the Clarity nodes. However, the fastening parts, sometimes the hose clamp, sometimes UV resistant zip tie, and so on. This type of things have to be purchased separately because depending on where you're actually going to mount them, the fastening device will be different. You can actually mount the device on a wall, which will use screw, and then if you are doing on a hose clamp, then on a pole, then it will be using a hose clamp and so on. So, but the mounting itself is really designed to be able to mount on both kind of infrastructure. Yeah.
I see a question from Robert. Does the API guide provide for a basic map that shows sites and values? Or would this type of object functionality have to be developed from scratch by the end user? So currently, the API just gives you access to all the data about your devices, your measurements, your subscriptions, and all the main concepts in the Clarity cloud. But if you want to do a specific map visualization, you will need to implement it yourself using the data coming from our APIs. But we've worked with customers to help them do that. And also some of the customers have been able to embed our Clarity Open Map into their website using iframes, so in a way that they didn't need to code too much. So if you have a specific idea in mind, please reach out. We can discuss it. I'm sure we can find a good approach. A lot of great answers. Sorry, a lot of great questions. I hope the answers are good.
Yeah, and then just for everyone who come late, yes, there will be a recording of this webinar to be shared. And there will be also a blog post about this specific thing, specific announcement we have made as well. So yeah, definitely both are available.
Right, I see that the trickle of questions has slowed down. So I think we can wrap this up. David, do you want to do that?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, thanks again for attending the webinars. And then if you have any additional questions that didn't get answered, feel free to reach out to us. We'll be happy to schedule a meeting, answer questions. Yeah, again, thanks so much for being here today. It means a lot to us. And then hope you all have a great end of the years and happy holidays.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining, everyone.